Imagine waking up in a town where the factory that powered generations now stands boarded up, the grocery store window says for lease, and neighbors have fled to Alberta or Ontario. It sounds like a story from decades ago, but it's happening right now across Canada. Automation, resource slowdowns, aging populations, and high costs are draining jobs and hope alike. From shuttered sawmills in the east to collapsing oil jobs in the west, the losses are staggering. And while Toronto and Vancouver dominate headlines, smaller provinces are suffering most. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Canadian provinces running out of jobs in 2026. Number 10. Newfoundland and Labrador. It's hard not to fall in love with Newfoundland and Labrador, its cliffs, its coastline, its culture, but behind the postcard-perfect scenery lies one of Canada's toughest job markets. Population, about 522,000, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 156,000 square miles. Density, only about 3.3 people per square mile, one of the lowest in the country. Newfoundland's weather is legendary, and not always in a good way. Fierce Atlantic storms, long winters, and heavy fog make daily life unpredictable. Harsh conditions have always been a part of the province's charm, but they also make industries like transport, shipping, and construction far more expensive to maintain. Once powered by oil, gas, and fishing, the province's economy has struggled to diversify. Offshore oil projects have slowed, public sector jobs are shrinking, and young workers are leaving in search of stable incomes. In 2026, unemployment hovers near double digits, the highest in Atlantic Canada. Even St. John's, once booming, has seen tech startups close and service jobs dry up as investment slows. Living here isn't cheap either. Groceries, heating, and basic goods cost more because everything must be shipped in. Housing prices remain modest, with median home prices around $280,000 estimate, but the challenge isn't buying a home, it's keeping the bills paid when work dries up. Internet and transport gaps in rural areas make remote work a limited solution. Still, life here has a beauty you can't measure in paychecks. The pace is slow, the people are friendly, and the rugged landscapes feel untouched by time. For many, that sense of belonging outweighs the lack of opportunity. Newfoundland and Labrador may be stunning, but for too many, it's become a place they can't afford to stay in, no matter how deeply they love it.
Number 9. Prince Edward Island. Prince Edward Island might look like paradise in every postcard. Red cliffs, endless beaches, and a calm, storybook lifestyle. But beneath that beauty lies one of the most fragile job markets in all of Canada. Population, about 175,000, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 2,200 square miles. Density, around 80 people per square mile. Canada's smallest province, but its struggles loom large. PEI's weather defines its rhythm. Short, warm summers that bring crowds of tourists, followed by long, icy winters that shut the island down. Snowstorms and coastal winds make travel difficult, and ferry disruptions isolate communities for days. When the temperature drops, so do the job listings. Tourism and agriculture are the island's economic backbone, but both are seasonal and heavily weather-dependent. Potato farming and fisheries have been hit by rising fuel costs and changing climate patterns, while hospitality jobs vanish as soon as the summer visitors leave. Remote work briefly offered hope, but poor connectivity outside Charlottetown still limits digital opportunities. In 2026, the unemployment rate is projected around 8% estimate, with hundreds leaving each year for steady jobs on the mainland. The cost of living remains relatively low, with the median home price near $350,000 estimate, but wages haven't kept up with inflation. Groceries, power, and internet plans cost more than the national average. Public transit is limited, forcing many to rely on costly personal vehicles. Yet, PEI remains one of the most peaceful places in Canada. Quiet towns, safe neighborhoods, and a strong sense of community. It's where people still know their neighbors, and sunsets stretch endlessly over the Atlantic. A dream in July, but by January that dream freezes over, leaving many with no choice but to look beyond the island for work.
Number 8. Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia has long been the beating heart of Atlantic Canada. Historic, scenic, and deeply proud.
But under the charm of Halifax's waterfront and Cape Breton's hills lies a growing jobs crisis few are talking about. Population about 1.03 million, 2026 estimate. Area around 21,300 square miles. Density roughly 48 people per square mile, compact but unevenly developed. Nova Scotia's maritime climate means constant change, fog, rain, and long, windy winters. For industries dependent on fishing, ports, or outdoor work, this weather adds constant costs and unpredictability. Even the tourist season is shrinking as climate extremes make summers less stable. Once powered by shipbuilding, education, and public service, Nova Scotia's job growth has stalled. Major employers like Irving Shipbuilding and regional universities are freezing hires, while rural areas are losing young workers to Alberta and Ontario. The 2026 jobless rate hovers near 7% estimate, but in smaller towns like Yarmouth or New Glasgow, it's closer to 10%. The shift toward remote work briefly helped, but many tech companies have since pulled back, cutting local contracts. Halifax's cost of living has exploded, rent up more than 20% in 2 years, while smaller towns face poor connectivity and limited healthcare access. The median home price sits around $450,000, estimate, but income levels haven't caught up. Commuting between jobs and affordable areas eats into already thin paychecks. Still, Nova Scotia's soul runs deep. Fresh seafood, ocean views, and a music culture that's second to none. For retirees or artists, it's paradise. But for younger workers trying to build a future, the opportunities are fading fast, turning one of Canada's friendliest provinces into one of its hardest places to earn a living.
Number 7. New Brunswick. New Brunswick often flies under the radar, a quiet bilingual province tucked between Quebec and Nova Scotia. But in 2026, it's becoming one of Canada's most overlooked job markets. Population, about 820,000, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 28,000 square miles. Density, around 29 people per square mile. Plenty of space, but not enough opportunity. The province faces long, cold winters and humid summers. Snowfall is heavy, and power outages are common in smaller towns. These harsh conditions make everything from road maintenance to shipping more costly, straining industries already operating on thin margins. New Brunswick's economy once relied on forestry, pulp and paper, and manufacturing, but many mills and factories have shut down or automated. Public sector job cuts have hit hard, especially in healthcare and education. While the province tries to attract call centers and tech startups, wages remain some of the lowest in Canada. Unemployment in 2026 sits near 8.5% estimate, and many young people are leaving for Halifax, Toronto, or even abroad. Housing is still relatively affordable, with the median home price around $330,000 estimate, but rising property taxes and heating costs eat into the savings. Internet service is improving, but rural gaps remain, limiting remote work potential. For many, 2 part-time jobs barely cover the essentials. Despite the economic challenges, life here has a simplicity that's hard to find elsewhere. The St. John River Valley is breathtaking, and small communities feel safe and close-knit. For families looking for peace and space, it's ideal. But when the paychecks stop coming, even peace of mind can't pay the bills. And that's why New Brunswick continues to lose its working-age population every single year. Number 6. Manitoba. Manitoba sits in the geographic center of Canada. Vast, cold, and often overlooked. But in 2026, the province's job market is shrinking faster than most people realize. Population, about 1.4 million, 2026 estimate. Area, nearly 250,000 square miles. Density, just 5.5 people per square mile. Endless land, but limited opportunity. Winter in Manitoba isn't just cold, it's extreme. Temperatures can plunge below -30 degrees Celsius, with icy winds sweeping across the prairies. The long, harsh winters affect not just comfort, but commerce. Shipping delays, frozen construction projects, and higher operating costs for every business trying to survive the season. Manitoba's economy was once supported by agriculture, manufacturing, and energy, but automation and global competition are reshaping everything. Many factories in Winnipeg and Brandon have reduced their workforce, while farms rely more on machines than people. The unemployment rate in 2026 sits around 7.5% estimate, but underemployment is far higher. Young professionals are leaving for Calgary or Toronto, chasing better pay and career growth. On paper, Manitoba seems affordable. The median home price sits around $360,000 estimate. But heating costs, car insurance, and taxes are higher than average. Transit options outside Winnipeg are nearly non-existent, forcing families to drive long distances for basic services. Internet access is solid in cities but spotty in northern regions, limiting digital job prospects. Still, Manitoba offers something few other provinces can: nature and culture side by side. Winnipeg's art scene thrives, and lakes like Clear and Winnipeg offer endless summer escapes. It's a place where people love the land, but as industries change and wages lag, more residents are realizing that passion alone can't power a paycheck.
Number 5. Saskatchewan. Endless skies, golden fields, and a horizon that never seems to end. Saskatchewan is pure Canada. But behind that beauty lies one of the country's fastest declining job markets. Population, about 1.2 million, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 251,000 square miles. Density, only 4.7 people per square mile. Wide open, but increasingly empty. Saskatchewan winters are brutally cold and long, often dipping below minus 40 degrees Celsius. Summers are short but intense, bringing sudden storms and droughts that threaten crops. These weather extremes hit both farmers and transport industries hard, increasing costs and lowering productivity. Once thriving on agriculture, oil, and potash, Saskatchewan's economy is now facing deep transitions. Oil and gas volatility, combined with global competition in food exports, has led to job cuts across the board. The construction and service sectors are slowing as well, especially in smaller towns. In 2026, unemployment hovers around 7.8% estimate, and youth migration is accelerating, with thousands leaving every year for Alberta's bigger paychecks. The province remains relatively affordable, with a median home price of around $340,000 estimate, but incomes haven't kept pace with rising costs for energy and transport. Rural communities often face weak cell coverage and limited access to healthcare or education services. These gaps make it hard for new families or remote workers to stay long-term. Saskatchewan still has undeniable charm: peaceful prairies, a tight-knit culture, and some of the most spectacular sunsets in the country. For those seeking quiet and community, it's paradise. But as industries automate and opportunities dry up, that wide open land feels less like freedom and more like emptiness.
Number 4. Ontario. Ontario might be the economic engine of Canada, but outside its booming cities, a very different story is unfolding. Rural towns across northern and eastern Ontario are quietly falling behind, losing both jobs and people at alarming rates. Population, about 15.7 million 2026 estimate, but less than 10% live in the northern half of the province. Area, over 415,000 square miles. Density, a tale of two extremes: urban crowding and rural emptiness. Northern Ontario faces some of Canada's harshest winters. Sub-zero temperatures last for months, freezing construction and transportation. Frequent snowstorms isolate entire communities, making commuting to the few available jobs nearly impossible for weeks at a time. While Toronto and Ottawa thrive on finance and tech, rural Ontario depends on manufacturing, mining, and small business, sectors hit hard by automation and consolidation. Many factories have closed in cities like Sudbury, Timmins, and North Bay. Government job cuts have only deepened the pain. In 2026, unemployment across Northern Ontario averages 8%, with youth outmigration continuing year after year. Small towns that once bustled with life now rely on seasonal work or government aid. Housing prices in the north remain low, with a median home price nearer $310,000 estimate, but the savings are offset by limited internet access, high heating costs, and long travel distances to hospitals or major employers. Public transport barely exists outside major corridors, forcing residents to rely on aging vehicles just to get to work. There's still something timeless about these communities, lakes, forests, and the kind of peace city life can't offer. For retirees or remote workers with stable incomes, it's heaven. But for those chasing opportunity, Northern Ontario has become a place where dreams stall, a reminder that even in Canada's richest province, prosperity isn't evenly shared.
Number 3. Alberta. For decades, Alberta was the land of opportunity, oil rigs, big paychecks, and booming cities. But in 2026, that shine is fading fast. Population, about 4.8 million, 2026 estimate. Area, roughly 255,000 square miles. Density, around 19 people per square mile, with growth slowing for the first time in years. Alberta's weather is as unpredictable as its economy. Harsh winters, summer wildfires, and volatile droughts make industries like construction, farming, and energy harder to sustain. The province faces frequent weather disruptions that add costs and uncertainty for employers, from frozen equipment to wildfire shutdowns. Oil built Alberta's wealth, but now it's also its weakness. As global demand shifts and green energy takes priority, major oil companies have cut thousands of jobs. The construction and transport industries, once booming alongside oil, have slowed dramatically. Even Calgary's downtown office towers, once packed, are seeing record vacancies. The 2026 unemployment rate sits around 7.2% estimate, but underemployment and contract work are on the rise. Many workers are trading six-figure energy jobs for part-time service positions. Housing prices have dropped from their pandemic peaks, with the median home price around $470,000 estimate. But living costs, especially insurance, utilities, and groceries, continued to climb. Small towns dependent on oil fields are seeing population declines, while younger residents flock to Ontario or British Columbia for new careers. Still, Alberta's beauty is undeniable: the Rockies, Banff, and wide-open skies. The province remains a magnet for adventure seekers and those chasing a lower cost of living compared to the big coastal cities. But as the oil rigs go quiet and the job boards dry up, Alberta faces a reality it never thought it would: a future where the boom may never return.
Number 2. British Columbia. If Alberta's problem is too few jobs, British Columbia's problem is that most people can't afford to take them. It's a paradox. One of Canada's richest provinces, yet increasingly out of reach for working families. Population, about 5.6 million, 2026 estimate. Area, around 365,000 square miles. Density, roughly 15 people per square mile, though most live in the south. BC's weather is famously mild on the coast and brutal in the interior. Vancouver enjoys rain over snow, while the Okanagan and northern regions face extreme seasonal shifts. Climate change has brought more wildfires and floods, disrupting tourism, agriculture, and forestry every year. BC used to thrive on forestry, tourism, and real estate, but in 2026, those industries are under pressure. Lumber mills are closing, tourism remains unstable after recent wildfire seasons, and the housing sector has cooled dramatically. The jobless rate hovers near 6.8%, but many of the remaining jobs pay too little to cover housing. Tech continues to grow in Vancouver, yet it serves only a fraction of the population. Many residents are working 2 or 3 part-time jobs just to keep up. Here lies BC's greatest crisis: affordability. The median home price in Greater Vancouver is around $1.2 million, estimate, among the highest in North America. Rent, groceries, and gas are also near record highs. Outside the Lower Mainland, opportunities are scarce, with rural communities struggling to retain workers. Despite the challenges, British Columbia remains breathtaking. Ocean views, mountain hikes, and a diverse and vibrant culture. It's a dream destination for lifestyle seekers. But dreams don't pay mortgages, and for many, BC has turned into a province where even having a job doesn't guarantee a life. Number 1. Quebec. Quebec is Canada's cultural crown jewel. Historic cities, strong identity, world-class cuisine. But beneath the charm, the province is facing a deep employment shift that's catching many by surprise. Population: about 8.9 million, 2026 estimate. Area: nearly 595,000 square miles. Density: around 15 people per square mile, though most live around Montreal and Quebec City. Quebec's winters are some of the harshest in North America. Months of heavy snow, freezing rain, and icy roads that push up transportation and energy costs. These conditions challenge everything from small businesses to public infrastructure. The climate alone adds a price tag to almost every job, making life expensive and operations difficult. The province's economy has long depended on manufacturing, aerospace, and government services, but 2026 is bringing a massive wave of change. Automation is replacing mid-skill factory jobs, the aerospace sector is cutting back production, and public sector hiring freezes have stalled opportunities for thousands of young professionals. Quebec's unemployment rate now sits around 7.5%, estimate, but youth unemployment in some regions is nearly double that. Language laws and bureaucratic red tape have also made it harder for out-of-province workers to find stable positions, especially in smaller cities. Housing prices are relatively modest compared to Toronto or Vancouver, with the median home price near $490,000, estimate, but wages haven't kept up. Energy costs are lower thanks to hydroelectricity, yet groceries, transportation, and property taxes continue to rise. Many smaller towns are losing their younger populations to Montreal, which itself is struggling to absorb the influx of workers chasing limited jobs. Culturally, Quebec is unmatched. Art, music, festivals, and a strong sense of community pride. For many, the lifestyle still outweighs the struggle. But for newcomers and younger families, the lack of accessible, stable employment has turned Quebec into a place where opportunity depends more on language and luck than on skill. Quebec's heart is still strong, but its job market is growing weaker with every passing year. From Newfoundland's rugged coasts to British Columbia's mountains, a quiet shift is reshaping Canada's workforce. These 10 provinces, each rich in history, culture, and beauty, are all facing the same storm from different directions. Automation, population aging, energy transitions, and high living costs are eroding once stable jobs, turning proud local industries into fading memories.